Hey everybody, how's it going? Cam and Ray here, your first and second favorite podcasters. I believe we are on Vespasian, episode 9. We are going to continue with Tacitus, but this time we're switching up to the threat coming from Germany. We're going to leave the Jews alone for a while and see what the Germans are up to. Is it going any better for them? Cam, I had a thought since we're recording 2 shows tonight. I haven't taken my cat yet to the vet. Is my cat like Schrodinger's cat, alive and yet not alive at the same time? Or is that too deep? Please bear with me. You know what I'm saying, right? You know what I'm saying. Because we're in the future, but we're not in the future, right?
This is why I never let you do the intro, because this is episode 8, not episode 9. And, you straight off go into a depressing monologue about your cat being simultaneously alive and dead.
But it was a scientific inquiry.
Explain to everybody at home listening.
Yeah.
Schrodinger's cat.
Ooh.
Who was Schrodinger? What was the analogy of the cat about? Go.
To be honest,
Ray Harris, your subject is Schrodinger. You have 60 seconds. Go.
To be honest with you, what little I know about that, I've always empathized with the cat. So I never really focused on the idea. I'm guessing it was a guy in a lab coat and there was a cat in a box. And until you opened the box, the cat was both alive and dead because you didn't know until you saw. I got that off the Big Bang Theory, but to be honest with you, I was kind of staring at Penny the entire time. So that is the sum total. And I'm not proud of this. But that was the sum total.
Why is the cat simultaneously dead or alive?
Because you don't know its current status because the box is closed. And I'm asking, I'm not telling. I'm not proud of myself, right?
Acetaminophen, acetaminophen, acetaminophen.
One of us has had a stroke, so looks like I'll be doing all the introductions.
Just say Tylenol. Yeah, it was a thought experiment Schrodinger came up with. He refused to accept, even though he's one of the founders of quantum physics, that it could be true that a superposition of states, so you could have a particle being in two opposing states simultaneously. And his thought experiment was the cat inside the box is a radioactive material with a certain half-life. And until you look in the box, you don't know if the cat is alive or dead. So theoretically, before you open the box, it must be simultaneously both alive and dead. He posited that as a way of demonstrating that could not possibly be the correct interpretation of quantum mechanics superpositioning, because that made no sense.
No. Well,
unfortunately for him, 100 years of research and also practical application of quantum mechanics shows that is in fact exactly what is happening, that states have both positive and negative, if you like, opposing states at the same time simultaneously. We use it in our electronics all the time. So the cat is both alive and dead. Your cat, therefore, Ray, is both alive and dead until you look at it. Fox!
Thank you.
I've been having this conversation with Fox recently. He started to become interested. We've been having this conversation about wave-particle duality and how the universe is like a video game, like Minecraft. He's a big Minecraft player. That keep explaining to him that when you're running in a direction in Minecraft, nothing actually exists behind you until you turn around and look. It's just potential.
Exactly. Yes.
Could exist, does not exist until you look, and then the code goes, oh shit, better pull that together.
Right. Could we go back to Schrodinger for a second? So the sad part of that story is that, one, he probably came up with this thought experiment to get chicks. I mean, that's what we do. And at the time, they're like, there's no way this could be true. Now that he's dead, it turns out it is true. So it's like he's 0 for 3. I mean, just don't become a scientist, kids. I mean, most of your mothers took Tylenol, so you're not going to anyway, but turn away from science. Just read the good book.
I'm hard. I'm so hard.
Your life will turn out a lot better. Anyways, we should probably move on to Germania.
I've got a quote from
Please.
Schrodinger talking about the cat here.
It's all relative.
Please. It is. It is. That's so deep.
It's
of
the
him. It's so
golden
wise.
rule. He who has the gold or the guns makes the rules.
Oh,
That's the second one.
Well, stage name,
Anyway.
bitch.
That sounds like a charismatic gentleman right there who's a good lover. Go ahead.
The reason I asked you to do the intro is because I was listening to an old Caesar episode. I think it was episode 19 or 20.
Right.
I was driving back from Bundaberg the other day, and I asked you to do the intro to that episode, and it was just as dismal a failure as it was this time. So I thought, here we are, 13 years later, I'll ask you to do it again. Once every 13 years, I'm going to ask you to do the intro. We'll see how it goes, see if you've improved it all in 13 years.
Are you predicting here and now tonight that we're still going to be doing the session in 13 years from now?
Fuck yes. 300 years from now, we'll still be doing this, and we'll still be talking about Roman emperors.
Well, there's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about. Yeah.
So, meanwhile in Germany, last time we were talking about Jerusalem. Meanwhile in Germany, there are still problems. As Titus is building ramps up against Jerusalem's walls, Cerealis, the commander of the legions in the Rhine, was sinking into marshland. Two fronts, one empire, one gamble. Yeah. The Romans in Germania have caught another dose of syphilis. Remember our old friend Civilis, our old friend from the Vitellius days, Gaius Julius Civilis.
Right.
A member of the Batavian royal family who led a revolt against the Romans. Yeah, took a couple of Roman legions with him. They changed sides, and he probably did it with the help of Vespasian, who he's friends with initially.
Right.
More on that later, but we sort of hinted at that back in the day. Tacitus has a bit more on that later on. But he's up to his old tricks. So during Vitellius's civil war with Vespasian, it looked like Civilis was creating a ruckus. I brings the ruckus, Larry. LD, I brings the ruckus. He was bringing the ruckus to cause troubles for Vitellius, but now Vespasian's on the throne. He's up to his old tricks. And the rebellion in Germania is now a real threat to the empire. They've got two legions that have been co-opted, the number 1 Germanica and the number 16 Gallica. They're controlled by the rebels. And this could be problematic for Vespasian and Rome's control of the Rhine and Gaul if you've got this guy running around rolling up areas and regions. So he needs to nip this in the bud. And who does he send to nip it in the bud, Ray?
See, the great irony here is that the bad guy, if from a Roman point of view, the bad guy, Syphilis. Well, what do you need to defeat Syphilis? You need Cerealis. Don't ask me how, but they're in the same general area. So General Cerealis, who did fight.
Sounds like a medical ad. If you're suffering from a dose of syphilis,
what you need,
ask your doctor about Cerealis.
And get the Roman version. It's a couple of bucks more, but it's worth it. Anyway, so Cerealis, fortunately for Rome, was a competent, I won't say brilliant, we'll get into that later, not inconsistent. Boy, that was a mental leap right there. But anyway, so this guy's been around. He fought in Britain during Boudicca's rebellion, and now he is in this general area taking on syphilis, because syphilis is no joke. The good news for Cerealis is that he is being reinforced. Not unlike increased amounts of blood to the peni, he has now received the 2nd, the 6th, and the 14th legions, as well as auxiliary foot and horse. So Cerealis is getting bigger and stronger every day. Having said that, Syphilis knows the terrain well. It's very marshy. And as we're going to see, that it benefits the Baptivas, the German, their allies. And so Cerealis has got his work cut out for him.
It's hard, but I take your point, sir.
Why was he chosen? Quintus Petilius Cerealis Caesius Rufus.
Because of that name. God damn. No, I can't remember this. Did we talk about this before? This is ringing a bell for me.
Yeah, well, he's married to Domitilla the Younger, daughter of Vespasian. So he's Vespasian's
Right.
son-in-law. He's in the family
loyal.
now.
He's
He was also a
loyal.
lieutenant in Judea. So
Right.
well known to Vespasian and trusted, gave him the command of the 14th Gemina and sent off and then, as you said, reinforced with the other legions. On the news of his approach, one of Civilis's allies, Julius Tutor, surrendered.
Oh shit.
The imprisoned legions, Germanica and Gallica, capitulated as soon as they heard he was coming, fully
Damn.
stoked, jacked,
Right.
fully jacked, jacked
He's
up
hard and he's
Cerealis.
coming.
Probably did it with his dick. I'm just saying. I don't know. I wasn't there, but probably.
Probably my greatest line.
And they, of course, were disgraced for allowing
Yes.
themselves to be co-opted. They were disbanded. Well, number 1 Germanica was disbanded. Its legionaries were added to the 7th Gemina and Pannonia.
Mhm.
And the Gallica was reconstituted with the name Legio 16th Flavia Firma. Flavor Flav, the Flavor Flav
Right.
Brigade.
Right. Yes.
That's what they would all say when they went into battle. The two armies, now, Cerealis and Civilis line up against each other. They finally meet head to head, separated by marshland / swampland / quicksand, depending on which version of it you want to believe.
Right.
Tacitus says Civilis had thrown a dam across the Rhine at an angle, so it was throwing water into the marshland, making it even sludgier and wet. And the thing is, the Rhine Delta wasn't flat. It was like this marshy quicksand stuff. Romans, with all of their armor, didn't know how to deal with this. The Batavians, though, loved this shit. They loved water. They loved quicksand. Born to play.
Fish.
Yeah, they jumped, they skipped. They were laughing. They were dancing, lightly armed, even though they'd been Romans for a while. They ditched all their Roman gear. They were like, ha ha! The Romans are sinking under the weight of their kit. The Batavians skipping, dancing, holding hands, throwing flowers in the air. They couldn't be happier.
Exactly. And so the Romans have to be careful literally where they step because they don't know, they might go all the way down. And that would be bad. So, but again, if they were on firmer ground, you would think that the Romans would have the advantage, technically speaking, but that's why the Batavians are being very careful with what they're doing. So what they do is they don't come right at the Romans because you don't go, if you're Civilis, you don't go right for the target. You go around. So they swing around the Romans' flanks. They're attacking the flanks. They know where the water is shallow at, and they do inflict Roman casualties. But again, it's not like they leave their marshy terrain. So they strike where they can. The Romans just kind of stay on the firmer ground. So there are Roman casualties, but it could have been a lot worse. But then these flanking attacks, they fall back. But again, Civilis knows what he's doing. He's going to try to bleed them out. But Cerealis is going to come up with his own plan for the next battle between the two.
The Batavian cavalry had once been Rome's shock troops. They were specialists at swimming rivers in full kit, sneaking up behind you, crossing a fjord. And now they're attacking the Romans. And imagine the humiliation. Oh, we trained you motherfuckers, and now you're turning on us. So conflict breaks out, and the Romans see their men and horses being swallowed up by the water. The Germans are skipping and dancing over it. The Romans panicked. But fortunately, the Germans didn't pursue. They returned to their camp, but the two generals the next day are anxious to get it back on. Germans were pretty flushed with their success. The Romans wanted to wipe out the disgrace of their poor performance the day before. But
Yes.
Tacitus says Civilis spoke to his men of the old glory of the Roman name of former and recent victories. He told them that in destroying forever their treacherous, cowardly, and beaten foe, they had to execute a punishment rather than fight a battle.
Damn. This is his Braveheart speech. Yeah. So no, this is revenge. This is whatever you want to call it. We're going to end this here and now. This isn't just another battle. We are cutting these motherfuckers down forever. So very motivating.
He's telling his Germans and Batavians that wherever the Roman turns his eyes, captivity, disaster, and everything that is terrible confront him.
It's not wrong. I mean, it's just between you and me and the 7 listeners. The Romans do have a propensity to enslave or to take colonies, or you know what I'm saying. So he's not wrong. So they're either going to fight for their freedom, or they're once again going to be beholden to the Roman Empire.
Probably also talking about the year of the 4 emperors, like they couldn't even decide if they wanted Galba or Otho, Vitellius, now it's Vespasian. Like they can't even figure out their own shit, and they think they're going to rule us. No more.
Hell no. Thank you. But as far as oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to give the Cerealis speech? I apologize.
You can go. Do it.
Okay. Well, Cerealis has got, he's got his Braveheart moment when the camera zooms in. So he tells his men, look, again, we've got to kick ass and take names here. You, the 14th Legion, you're not just any fucking legion. You're the conquerors of Britain. And you 6th Legion, you were powerful enough. Your influence got Galba made emperor. Now, between you and me, Cam, I don't know if that's the flex you want to give because the old man's dead now, but he had to say something to the 6th that they were, their influence is the one who got Galba made emperor. That's something to brag about, I guess. And then he tells the 2nd Legion, for this day in battle, we are going to dedicate your new standards and your new eagle. So each legion has been pumped up. He's told them something specific about them. And so now both sides are worked up. It's enough of the talking. It's time to get to fisticuffs. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Tacitus has a bit more of what he says was Civilis' speech. This day will either be the most glorious among the deeds of the past or will be infamous in the eyes of posterity.
Thanks, boss. Tylenol.
Things seem to be going in the favor of Civilis when a deserter from his camp went over to Cerealis and told him how to attack the enemy from the rear if some cavalry was sent along the edge of the swampland where the ground was firmer. He knew where that was. He knew where there were lookouts that were pretty careless. So he went over to the Romans, this guy, and led a couple of squadrons to outflank Civilis. They came up the backside. Now,
well,
we know that could be fun. No one's judging here.
Nope.
Coming up the backside.
Actually,
but it.
Yeah. Well,
it's
I
hot.
think there's
the anus is now closed.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to open it back up because these 2 troops of Roman cavalry who are being led by this traitor are either going to be led to the weak spot or to the G spot. I don't know, but hopefully this works out for the Romans because treachery seems to be replete throughout these battles. Remember, was it Antioch? We ran into this as well. There's always some motherfucker that's going to turn on you and ruin everything for everybody else by going to the other side. I want to know how this German got to Cerealis and go, look, don't kill me. I'm here to help. You can trust me. But however it happened, it happened.
I will bring heaven to you through the anus. I'm sorry.
Oh,
that's what he said.
A poet. He's a poet, baby.
Well, yeah, it's like I imagine this guy was probably captured as a prisoner and was
Oh,
like,
right.
Wait,
Good point.
wait.
Whoa. Put the sword
yeah,
down.
before
Yeah,
you
put
stab
your
me,
Gladys
I
down.
have
Yeah, but-
information which could be very valuable. I think that's the way these
Exactly.
things normally go down.
That's how I would do it. What can I give you so you don't
Or-
kill me? Because
You spread the messages going, we're willing to pay a shit ton of money for anyone who deserts and comes and gives us useful information. I mean, that's the way it normally goes down, right?
exactly. That's a tried and true method, and it works more than it doesn't. So
Yeah.
you're probably onto something there. Yeah.
So these two squadrons come up the anus. They are successful. They send a
Yeah, they
signal
are.
through
Right.
just shouting, apparently, which the legions in the front heard.
Right.
They
Right.
attacked, and the Germans were routed and fled back across the Rhine. But then a massive storm broke out, and the Romans didn't pursue. The next day, Civilis carried off whatever property he could from his camp, set fire to the rest, and retreated to an island that he knew the Romans wouldn't be able to get to because they couldn't build a bridge. They couldn't cross the river in any other way. He also demolished a dike that had been constructed by Drusus Germanicus, Tiberius's brother, back in the day.
Dick. Right.
That sent the river flowing down a steep channel, which made it even harder for the Romans to get to the island. So he's bought himself a little bit of time, Civilis, but it ain't over yet.
Well, the one thing I want to add on is when the Romans had this local victory, what could have really cinched it for them is if the Roman fleet had been in that part of the Rhine River with, I don't know, spearmen, arrows, archers or whatever, and shooting the Germans as they were literally fleeing, crossing across the river. But and we're going to see this again for whatever reason, and I think they were just too spread out. But the Roman fleet that was supposed to be the naval aspect of this attack just isn't getting the job done, and it's going to come up again. But they had a wonderful opportunity. It doesn't take, and the Germans are going to see a possible opportunity due to the weakness of the Roman fleet.
So Tacitus goes on to talk about a big naval battle between the Batavi and the Romans. Civilis is going around doing a lot of raids. In one raid, he managed to capture the flagship of the Roman fleet. Very humiliating. So Cerealis decides to wait no longer and invaded Batavia. They end up, Cerealis offers Civilis a peace treaty. Civilis hears that Jerusalem had fallen because we're in 70 CE right now. So meanwhile, he gets a message that Jerusalem has fallen, basically knows now that Rome's going to bring its full resources to bear upon his little rebellion. Exactly. This is not going to end well, and so he makes peace. During the negotiations, Tacitus says that Civilis talked about his respect for Vespasian, that they've been friends for a long time, and then says that Antonius sent him letters urging him to fight on behalf of Vespasian.
Ooh,
so this is more evidence in Tacitus that Vespasian was using him to cause trouble in the first place. Not a good look for the Flavian emperor for Tacitus to be throwing him under the bus like that.
Right. Unless I win.
Well,
I mean, you're right. It looks bad. It absolutely looks bad. But if it works, and then he can deal with the critics as the emperor versus being a general. But I take your point.
But I guess he wasn't asking Civilis to fight Rome. He was asking Civilis to fight Vitellius, who he was also fighting, because Vitellius should not have been. Yeah, it is. I mean, at the end of the day, you're asking him to attack Romans and kill Romans, which is not a good look. Right?
Yeah.
Okay when Romans kill Romans, but you're asking Batavians to
to
kill Romans. That's not a good look.
No, that's a bad look. Exactly.
And then that's it from Tacitus.
Disappears.
The histories that we have run out.
Yeah.
Consequently, we don't know what happened to Civilis. There are no other records in the histories of what happened to him. He disappears from history at this point.
Right.
And this is all we have from Tacitus, full stop. Like his
Yeah.
history of the war between the Romans and the Jews doesn't get continued.
Damn.
This is it. After all these years, we've been doing this show, 13 years.
Yeah. We've run out of Tacitus.
12 years. 12 years we've been doing this
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Coming up to, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Started
yeah,
in
yeah,
2013, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been using Tacitus as a source for this
now-
show for 12 years, and now
Just
no more Tacitus.
Wikipedia.
I'm gonna miss
Oh,
this
right,
motherfucker, man.
Right. Oh yeah, no, he's been a lot of fun. I mean, again, you know, you think of a historian, you think of someone like someone who took it seriously, who was, you know, I mean, he had his point of view, but there were times when he was honest, but well, I heard this, but you know, whatever. I mean, he gave you more than just the facts, and he knows how to tell a story. This guy knows how to tell a story. So, for future historians out there, they have him to thank. But yeah, the idea that so I'm asking, is this the end of a book? Was there just missing pages after this? I mean, I would love to know what does it just
Well, if you shut
at the
the
end
fuck
of the
up,
last page?
I'll tell you.
Well, hold on. I got one last joke. Is it just at the end? I would really like to know.
That's the joke.
Well, from Monty Python, did he write? Anyway, you know what? We don't have to go into it. We don't have to go into it.
Well, my beer.
Thanks for,
I'm holding it up with my penis, actually.
okay, so syphilis is gone. Tell me about the end of Tacitus.
I want to talk about why we don't have any more Tacitus. So his histories
yeah,
were written circa 100, 110 CE. He died in 120 CE.
Right.
His book on this period goes up to, which is the histories. He has the annals and the histories. The histories went up to the death of Domitian, but those chapters have been lost. The Titus chapters, well, the rest of the Vespasian, the Titus, and the Domitian chapters have been lost, which is very, very sad. And we have to ask why his work wasn't better preserved or protected over the centuries. You know, you and I have talked about this on the Renaissance show, but for people who haven't listened to our Renaissance show because you're cheap, and there's a lot of free episodes, by the way, you should go and listen to us talk about. You at least go listen to the free episodes of the Renaissance show if you haven't.
Then decide.
There were obviously tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps, of books, scrolls that were existing in ancient Rome at the time of Tacitus. And, you know, stuff written by the Greeks, stuff that they brought over from the Egyptians, stuff from the Romans, stuff from other parts of the world where they'd gone and taken stuff. You know, they conquered and brought back books and grabbed books and had them translated and all that kind of stuff. In the Library of Alexandria and the other libraries, great libraries of Rome, personal libraries like the one that we found near Pompeii, whatever it's called, the villa of the Papyri, which we believe belonged to Piso, Julius Caesar's father-in-law, where they found a whole bunch of scrolls that have been charcoaled and that they're using like scanning technology, ultrasound technology to try and read.
Jesus. Yeah.
But very few of them were preserved over the intervening 1500 years. And the few that we have, and this is the case with Tacitus, in many cases we have one copy that has managed to survive, or in this case, half a copy. So in terms of Tacitus, we know that his contemporaries were very well acquainted with his work. This guy wasn't some dipshit like me writing in the middle of nowhere and no one ever read his fucking books. He was a player in his day.
Yeah.
He was a governor. He was politically connected. He was
Suffolk
well respected. Pliny the
Yeah.
Younger was one of his first admirers, congratulated him for his better than typical precision when it came to talking about history, and predicted that his histories would be immortal. But only a
Right.
third of his known work has survived.
And not only that, but I'm guessing you're going to say this soon, but to compare the amount of his work that has survived versus Cicero, Virgil, Livy, I mean, I think there's a lot more of the other ones. And so again, so why is this guy? What is it about him or his writing? Was it politics? Was it just the location of books? Why was he not valued, or why weren't there a hell of a lot more copies made of this guy's incredible works?
Would have been a lot back in the good old days, but the Christians
Right.
weren't very happy on preserving it. We depend
True.
on a single manuscript for books 1 through 6 of the Annals, and on one more for the other surviving half, books 9 to 16, and for the 5 existing books of the histories.
Yeah.
Now, we know his work was being used through the 2nd and early 3rd century because historians like Cassius Dio and Hegesippus probably borrowed from his accounts of the First Jewish-Roman War. But his popularity did wane with time, even in the classic period, because his unfavorable portrayals of the early emperors probably didn't earn him any credit with the increasingly autocratic emperors that followed.
Yeah.
Plus, his obvious contempt for Judaism and Christianity made him
Didn't help.
unpopular with the early church fathers.
Right. Exactly.
The 3rd century Christian writer Tertullian, for example, said that the story that Jews worshipped a donkey's head in the Holy of
See,
Holies
you
came
can't say
from
that.
Tacitus, which is not true. He called him
Right.
the most loquacious of liars. And then by the 4th century, when Christianity starts to take hold of the empire, there are just a few scattered references of his life and work. There's one historian, Ammianus Marcellinus, we've talked about before. He started his history where Tacitus had finished, but then we get to the 5th century and it seems like very few people had even heard of Tacitus. No one's quoting him. One, Apollinaris, seems to have admired him. Another one, Orosius, says he's a fool, but also borrows passages from him, including some that are otherwise lost. Cassiodorus and his disciple Jordanes in the middle of the 6th century make the last known antique references to his work. After Jordanes, Tacitus basically disappears from literature for the better part of 300-400 years. There's
It's incredible.
the Carolingian Renaissance,
Mhm.
where a couple of references appear in the works of some Frankish monks. And then we have this Benedictine monastery outside of Rome called Monte Cassino. In 1100, there's some of his works get referenced there. It wasn't until Boccaccio discovered the manuscript of the Annals and the histories
Right.
in Monte Cassino in the 1360s or the 1370s and took it to Florence. We talked about him in episode 27 of the Renaissance show, the author of the Decameron, talked about the Black Death in Florence, one of the fundamental works of literature from the early Renaissance. Him and Petrarch basically invented the literary aspect of the Renaissance by writing stories that had nothing to do with Jesus. His stories were a bunch of young people that escaped Florence during the Black Death and were hiding out and fucking, having good times.
Telling stories.
Boccaccio discovered this and took it back to Florence, but even the early humanists in Florence didn't really think much of Tacitus. They preferred the writings of Cicero, the patriotic history of Livy, who was their favorite historian, because Tacitus was a bit curmudgeon-y. Like, he's like, fuck this guy, fuck that guy, fuck the women, fuck all these things. Like, he's very sarcastic, he's very antagonistic,
Judgy?
judgy, very judgy. some people read him, but it was purely for historical information. He wasn't beloved like Cicero was for his prose. Tacitus was more like, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. This person was a cunt. This person was a cunt.
Yep.
Yeah, now, fuck on, leave me alone. But
right.
As the Florentine Republic started to struggle against imperial ambitions of Visconti and the popes and people like that, this idea of what makes a good ruler, what makes a bad ruler started to become interesting. Right. And then you had guys like Leonardo Bruni, the Italian humanist, late 14th, early 15th century, who started to use Tacitus as a source for political philosophy. You know, well, Tacitus says that these guys were bad emperors because X, Y, and Z, and these guys were better because of A, B, and C. But then it was Niccolo Machiavelli who was the first guy who really made Tacitus popular again. He quoted from the Annals in The Prince, where he advised that the ruler has, that it has always been the judgment of wise men that nothing can be so uncertain or unstable as fame or power not founded on its own strength. So he was talking about how you had to be a strong leader in order to keep the people. You had to be both loved and feared, as he liked to say.
Exactly.
But feared was better than loved.
Yeah, because you'll probably last longer.
He disappeared. I think he lost his internet. I'll just finish up. Machiavelli sort of becomes the main guy promoting Tacitus. His idealized prince resembles some of the guys that Tacitus really admired, like Tiberius. And by the late 16th century, Tiberius becomes required reading for anyone in Florence who really wants to understand how to have power and maintain power. His depiction of the various strategies that you had to have to keep power, maintain power, became popular right across Europe and all the different courts. All the scholars were reading him. He became compulsory reading in political education circles, particularly for anyone who wanted to be in power. Edward Gibbon was strongly influenced by his style when he wrote The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. And French revolutionaries quoted Tacitus as much as they quoted Cicero or Plutarch. Napoleon, though, wasn't a fan. He attacked Tacitus furiously, saying that he found criminal intention in the simplest acts. He makes complete scoundrels out of all the emperors to make us admire his genius in exposing them, and said that Tacitus had slandered the emperors whom the Roman people had loved. Now, Napoleon may have had his own reasons for not liking to promote anyone who was criticizing somebody who'd taken power, but I tend to agree. Like, as much as I've enjoyed reading Tacitus, I think some of his opinions, particularly on Nero and Caligula and Claudius, Tiberius, were spurious, right? And he was very much a man of the elite. He didn't like the people, didn't like anyone advocating for the people. So he's certainly not perfect. And I think Napoleon was right in giving Tacitus a degree of criticism. But sadly, that's all we have of Tacitus. So when we continue the Jewish War next time, we're going to have to use Josephus as our primary source. And he is a primary source, which is good, but not reliable. Primary, but not reliable. Bit like you, Ray. Primary, but not reliable.
Fucking knew it. I fucking knew it the whole time.